I'm Brice Bible, UB's Vice President and Chief Information Officer. I'll be sitting down with students, faculty, staff, and other thought leaders outside of UB to highlight some important technology topics that affect campus community members like you. Let's take a ride in one of our electric Tech Squad cars and meet our guest today. Our first guest on Tech Talk is a familiar face to many on UB's campus. AJ Franklin is known as the Boombox Guy. He quickly rose to fame at UB as a DJ by carrying 2 boombox speakers around campus and playing music. But as you'll soon learn, AJ's role at UB extends far beyond his boombox speakers. Well, AJ, welcome to our first episode of Tech Talk, and it's great to have you here as our first guest. But for the audience and for our groups, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What are you doing at UB? And what are you studying?
So I'm from Brooklyn, lower part of Brooklyn, Canarsie, and I came to UB to study business administration, switched majors, so now I'm a psychology major with entrepreneurship minor. And what am I currently doing? A lot. UB Council student representative, so I represent UB student body, and really just like making sure that they get what they need, and also addressing student concerns, and also addressing what students want more of. And then I also chair a council called COLE, with all the student government leaders, so we get together to make sure that we're a united front in these efforts to really make sure that UB is better for students. Also a journalist for a student newspaper, assistant features editor. So I've had a couple great stories so far. What else do I do? DJ.
You DJ,
yeah.
Yes. I think we want to talk about that too.
Yep.
So you came to campus, and one of the first things you became known as is the Boombox Guy.
Mm-hmm.
So how did that come about?
That really came about because I was just like, headphones are great, but speakers are better. In high school, like, it would be pretty sad walking through streets, like for miles, and just not having that music in the background. And so I thought it always amplified the greatness a day could have by walking around with music.
So you didn't have it, it's not your phone, so you had the music playing, so you knew it would draw attention probably. So,
yeah.
Which is great. So what are some, interesting cases or things that happened as you were walking around campus as the Boombox Guy?
I mean, there's more than I could count.
I'll bet.
An example of more than I could count is probably all the selfies students have taken with me over time, which is probably over 300 now. That's like a really, something I didn't expect from this. And the Boombox Guy name, I didn't expect from this either. I would say one of the ones that really was a defining moment was when students painted the bull outside of SU and put "All heroes don't wear capes," and they had someone with a boombox.
Cool.
Nice. Which was basically supposed to be me. That was definitely a moment of just deep appreciation for the UB community, and just realizing just how much of an impact not only music has, but that I have on this community.
And I think you have had a lasting effect on the community. There's no doubt about it. And, you mentioned some of the clubs and organizations you're involved in. One that you and I have got acquainted with is around the University Council, which is, the leadership from the community, including you, who helps guide the president, the provost, and the university in the direction it's taking. And that's where you and I got affiliated, I think, as well as just you reaching out or us having conversations early. So, you have been very vocal, and I appreciate it, with even at the council meetings about technology and the importance of technology. What's that experience been like, though, being on the UB Council? That's a lot of responsibility, but a great honor.
It's definitely been out of this world experience. I would say for me, being a kid from Brooklyn to coming here, now the boomboxes was a crazy shift, but I was like, why not take that to the next level and really start to achieve my dreams? And UB Council was in that sphere. So I remember like the first meeting that I sat in, like before I got elected, I was just like, this is kind of crazy, like, because we have President Tripofti there. Immediately when he sees me, I see a glowing smile on his face, and we shake hands. But then I'm sitting across from the chairman, Mr. Jacobs, who is not only an influential figure in the community, but also has a tremendous amount of wealth. And then I'm also sitting next to Renee Jones, who is the CEO of M&T Bank. So I realized that the actions that I would take here not only would impact me in the short term, but also in the long term. And also, I have the potential to not just only better the student experience, but also better the university experience, and also better the community connections we have with our community leaders to really make something or experiences that are more beneficial for not only UB, but the Buffalo community in general. You're not the one making the change, you're the one influencing change and convincing people that change is necessary.
That's great. And I have to say that as the representative of the students on the council, you've done an amazing job. And as I see you at every one of those events. But one of the things you've talked about there, and we've talked about for a couple of years, has been the importance of Wi-Fi on the campus for students. And you know, and our conversations have led to some thinking together about what can we do to try to better understand that, including, you know, our QR code project, right? That was an idea that came out of conversations we had, which is starting to, you know, to benefit us now. We're starting to hear from students specifically where their problems are. You know, can you talk a little bit about that? Because that was a brainstorming, I think, between us and others to come up with that concept.
One of the biggest student concerns that we've had over the past couple of years has been in the area of Wi-Fi. Just like looking back at all the feedback that students have had. And so, and obviously we definitely try our best in that area. But you're always going to run into problems. And so I thought it would be best to have a brainstorming session with you and your team to really discuss what are the best solutions. And I'm also thankful that you guys were so well receptive to that. One of the ideas that we came up with was the QR codes to really get that student feedback immediately on what areas of campus are having the biggest problems. Not only that, so we can have a better response, but also we could realize, like, be more reactionary with our responses as well. Like how you were telling me how the problems really rise from like a big group of people going from one area to another area, and as we all know, especially at UB, that happens all the time.
Right.
So really like pinpointing those areas where the problems are. I think feedback is one of the biggest ways to like repair a problem, and I think you could explain better like how this will help the UB community, especially the students, with creating more stable Wi-Fi.
Well, and I think the idea was great, and you know, it gives the students a chance to give immediate reaction. Now, usually that might be negative reaction, but that's okay. But it gives them a way to do that that's fairly quick and simple. You know, if we tried to ask students to open up your computer, go to the website, enter a ticket, put in a, you know, that's a lot to have to do. But this concept of the QR code makes it simple, hopefully, and we can get direct feedback. I will say that the feedback we're getting is excellent. And as you say, it's pinpointing locations that we're seeing the problems, which is exactly where we'll put our energy and effort to try to solve. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. You know, I guess it's a broader question, but why is Wi-Fi an important thing for students?
Well, Wi-Fi is what, to put it simply, is what connects us to the world. Of course, generations beforehand, that was not the case, but like we walk around with like mini computers in our pockets these days to keep up with what's going on in the world around us. And not only is it like able to connect us, but it's also something that we need to have access to if we want to advance in a world that's centered around digital technology. And like I'm a big political guy in terms of like just finding the solutions that are best for society. And accessibility is one of the biggest things that allows for an equitable society. And so Wi-Fi is like one of those areas, like you could see in high schools, middle schools, like students who don't have access to Wi-Fi compared to their peers can't necessarily do as well because they don't have access to the resources that they would need to succeed. So that's really the biggest part about it for me, and I think for many of our students, is accessibility to a better world and a better lifestyle.
I like that, and I completely agree. It is about providing access to all students, no matter where they come from or what their backgrounds are. We've over my years here, we've evolved Wi-Fi significantly. I think when I arrived almost 10 years ago now, we had a couple of thousand access points across campus, to just like what you would have in your house, but we had a couple of thousand. We're now up to over 10,000 access points. And part of that is the evolution of the technology, but it's also putting the access points where the students need it. So we still have work to do to make sure that it's as bulletproof as it can be for the students, but it's certainly a focus area for us. As I like to say, IT is only here to serve the students and your faculty. That's what we're here for. And if the services we provide don't do that, then we've got to find ways to do it better. And Wi-Fi, we know, is a big, important part of our day-to-day life, including the classroom. And I think that's where we're seeing even some of the issues is because of the volume. It's great. We see our faculty using technology in the classrooms, which is great for the students and for their learning. But if the technology doesn't work, then that's a huge hindrance. So it's vitally important. And I think you've touched on the accessibility, the future of Wi-Fi from an accessibility point of view. I think we've got to continue to evolve that, not just on campus, but off. And, the pandemic helped shine a light on, we could have access points on campus, but if you go home, then there's much different, access depending on the location and the individual's background and so forth. And I think it's also an area that we could continue to work on. And I haven't found the solution to that, but looking forward to working with you and other students to find that.
Of course, definitely.
So maybe we could now step back even farther and think about technology overall. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's an important element of your life with your Boombox and our focus on Wi-Fi. So as you think about, finishing your career at the university and thinking about the future students that come, what are some important elements of technology that you see from your vantage point for the future of students to be successful, both in the university, but also in their life outside the university? It could be about access to course materials. It could be about the software we use, like our learning management system, even some of these interesting AI tools like ChatGPT that is all the buzz right now. What do you think the future is from a student perspective? Are there things that you can kind of see, from your vantage point that this year's incoming freshman class will need as they try to successfully navigate the university?
Technology is ever evolving, and it's really like one of the fastest evolving industries, especially like information technology and digital technology. And so for our students, we're at a crazy point right now. Like, AI is definitely advancing the world around us and advancing how we look at technology. And so it's like navigating unknown territory. And I think for a lot of students, that's a fun new world. But there's also a part like, now, what's the best way to access this? And I think one of the biggest turning points for my generation is the fact that we had COVID-19, the pandemic, and it really showed us what works in society and what doesn't work, and also what's possible. Like the fact that like the way that we view how you could work from home now, I think there was a lot of stereotypes with working from home beforehand, and there's probably still are now, with just thinking that you working from home means that you're going to be lazier, focusing on other things, when we know that's not necessarily true. And so having that access to opportunities while not having to go through the barriers of, okay, how am I going to get here through the bus? Do I need a car? Do I need gas? And like all those are resources. Like it really eases the process, having Zoom sessions and all these methods where you don't necessarily need to be physically present.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's one of the goals that IT should focus on, is making sure that all those tools are effectively available both on campus and off. We have world-class faculty here and world-class students, and my belief is that our job in IT is to provide as many of the tools that we can in a very robust way, right, and accessible way, so that our faculty and our students can use those, whether it's in the class or it's in a group session or it's work from home or. And I know that's put a burden on the IT side, but it also is the way of the future, and I think we have to be there. I also think that this kind of interaction is critical. I said earlier, IT is only here to serve the students and serve the faculty. We have to listen, right? And it takes the faculty and students like yourself to help us work together to find those right solutions. I think UB is the place that can happen, and we can lead the state, and I think we are leading the state in many ways. So, well, AJ, it's been great chatting with you. You've been a great advocate for IT in your time here, and a great partner to help us. And so, we look forward to seeing how you do in your future. I'm sure we'll see you in the papers soon. So, great. Thanks for the time, AJ. It's great chatting with you.
You as well.
Now we'd like to hear from you. Head over to UBIT's Twitter page to respond to a poll on AI. The question we'd like to ask is, do you think AI tools such as ChatGPT will have a major impact on higher education? We can't wait to hear from you, and we'll share the results at our next episode. Do you have a question for me when it comes to technology at UB? Here's your chance to ask. Submit your questions to cio@buffalo.edu, and we'll answer some in the next episode. Thanks for watching this episode of Tech Talk. For more information about all the services and software that UBIT provides for students, faculty, and staff, visit buffalo.edu/UBIT.